On the neutral space station known as Archeon Prime, orbiting a shattered, orange-tinted moon far from the Predator homeworld, the young royal cub, Kyle, moved through the crowded corridors with his head bowed, every step heavy with the weight of ridicule and expectation. For though he bore the bloodline of kings, his body was frail, his claws short, and his reflexes slower than his peers, who mocked him openly and whispered behind his back that the royal line had failed, that weakness ran in his veins, and that he was unworthy of the title he had inherited at birth. Whispers followed him everywhere, eyes glinting in shadowed hallways, teeth gnashing in silent derision, and the sounds of laughter and scorn echoed like daggers in his ears, leaving him anxious, withdrawn, and questioning whether he deserved even the simplest of Predator privileges. Yet, in the very chaos of his isolation, Kyle stumbled into a human girl named Ilara, barely 16, with hair pulled back in a practical braid, eyes sharp and alert, who moved with confidence through the station, as if she owned every corridor, every junction, every bridge between modules. And in a way that no Predator had ever dared, she looked at him without fear, without judgment, and in that gaze, he felt a spark of curiosity and hope he had never known. Ilara, who had survived human gangs, rogue hunters, and mercenary slavers through a mixture of cunning, speed, and intuition, saw not a weak Predator cub, but a young mind trapped by expectation and ridicule, and she offered him something his own species had never given: guidance, patience, and training. And over the weeks that followed, she taught him hand-to-hand combat techniques drawn from human martial disciplines, methods of leverage, timing, and improvisation that no Predator had ever seen, showing him that strength was not only in muscle and claw, but in mind, precision, and anticipation, while simultaneously teaching him stealth, observation, and tactics for using his environment to gain advantage, turning his perceived weakness into unpredictable strength. Kyle, initially awkward and hesitant, soon found himself moving fluidly through exercises, countering attacks, anticipating strikes, and slowly his confidence grew, muscles strengthening not only through physical effort, but through the knowledge that someone believed in him, that someone saw him not as a failure, but as a warrior. And in that realization, a bond formed between human and Predator, stronger than bloodlines, forged in mutual respect and the fires of hidden potential. For she challenged him, pushed him, demanded excellence, yet always with encouragement, a method that terrified the conservative elders of his kind, who believed discipline only came through punishment, not mentorship. As the cub trained, strange occurrences began to unfold around the station. Suspicious shadows in corridors, mechanical glitches that suggested tampering, rumors of assassins hired to eliminate the weak prince before he could embarrass the clan further. And yet Kyle's confidence, tempered by human guidance, allowed him to notice patterns, anticipate ambushes, and react with skill no Predator of his age had ever shown. And Ilara, sensing danger, honed her own reflexes in tandem, improvising defenses, guiding the cub in real time, her human ingenuity bridging gaps that Predator instinct alone could not cover, creating a symphony of motion and thought. And while the station remained unaware of the depth of their preparation, every silent corridor, every shadowed maintenance shaft, every overlooked surveillance camera became a classroom for resilience, strategy, and survival. Culminating in a night when assassins finally arrived, weapons silent at first, moving with deadly precision toward the prince, only to be met by Ilara's unrelenting fury, her fists, improvised weapons, and lightning-fast reflexes dismantling their attacks with brutal efficiency, her movements a combination of human ingenuity and raw courage, showing that while the cub species valued strength and tradition, human determination could defy expectation and protect even the most vulnerable of warriors. And Kyle, watching her fight, finally understood the meaning of loyalty, courage, and the true power of mentorship. For he saw in her not only protection, but inspiration, the spark that ignited his latent warrior instincts, forging him into someone who could stand not just beside his human friend, but also against the galaxy itself. And as the battle ended in silence, bodies of would-be assassins incapacitated, alarms still ringing faintly in the distance. Kael looked at her and realized the truth that no predator elder had ever taught him. Strength alone does not define a warrior, but the courage to act, the wisdom to learn, and the willingness to stand for those who believe in you. And in that moment, he resolved that he would never again allow tradition, fear, or ridicule to dictate who he was or what he could become.
The following day, the station was tense, whispers and alerts spreading like wildfire as the surviving assassin's allies reported back to the clan elders, painting a picture of disaster that no elder could ignore. KL, now moving with newfound confidence, walked openly through corridors that once made him tremble, every step measured, every glance alert, while Ilara shadowed him with quiet readiness, anticipating danger, improvising traps, and preparing for the inevitable arrival of the clan's enforcers who had long believed that weakness in a royal cub was unacceptable. And as the elders shuttle docked, black and gleaming with authority, KL felt a mixture of fear and determination, for this would be the ultimate test. Not survival, but recognition. Not evasion, but confrontation with centuries of rigid tradition. The station's central plaza became a stage, the cub standing slightly behind Ilara, whose calm stance betrayed none of the fury she had shown the night before. As the elder stepped forward, weapons humming, claws extended, their expressions carved from millennia of judgment and expectation, scanning the scene for weakness, for failure, and perhaps for the excuse to impose punishment on the one they had long scorned. Yet as they approached, KL's movements were precise, confident, tempered by days of rigorous human training, anticipation, and strategy, while Ilara's presence remained a stabilizing force, her eyes locking with his in silent communication, a signal that together they could face the impossible. The standoff was tense, the hum of alien energy and flicker of lights casting long shadows across the polished floor, until the eldest of the clan demanded to know how a mere human could have trained the prince to such effectiveness, how the weak cub had survived assassins, anticipated every attack, and moved with a confidence no predator of his age had ever demonstrated. And in that moment, KL stepped forward, chest rising with pride, muscles coiled but controlled, gaze unwavering, and with a clarity born of respect, loyalty, and hard-won skill, he declared, voice resonant and unshakable, "A human, the first being who saw a warrior in me." And silence descended, a silence so complete it seemed the station itself paused, as if the cosmos had halted to witness the declaration. For no predator elder had ever heard such words, not only acknowledging human ingenuity, but openly embracing it as the source of strength. And in that confession, the elders felt a ripple of something unfamiliar, shock, awe, and perhaps grudging respect. Murmurs rippled through the gathered warriors, some scowling, some stunned, but all realizing the implication. KL, trained by a human, had survived trials their own kind would have failed, mastered techniques beyond tradition, and now stood before them, fully aware of his own potential, unbowed, unbroken, a true warrior, not by instinct alone, but by courage, mentorship, and choice. Ilara, standing beside him, relaxed slightly, yet remained vigilant, for even with recognition, danger was never fully gone. But she understood something the elders might never grasp. A human, underestimated and overlooked, could teach even the mightiest predator the meaning of honor, loyalty, and courage, and that perhaps, just perhaps, the galaxy would be forever changed by those who refuse to accept limitations imposed by species, bloodline, or fear. And as KL raised his head, scanning the gathered crowd of elders, warriors, and stunned assassins, he understood that he had passed the ultimate test, not just of survival, but of recognition. For he had proven that a true warrior is defined not by tradition, not by birth, but by the choices made in the face of adversity, by the courage to trust, learn, and act. and as the elders slowly lowered their weapons, murmuring words of astonishment and contemplation, Kael and Ilara shared a glance, a quiet acknowledgement that together they had redefined strength, challenged centuries of doctrine, and created a legend that would echo through the stars, the story of a predator prince whose first true mentor, protector, and friend was human, and whose bond with her had forever altered the perception of what it meant to be a warrior.